The WWH show. This is a show that asks a series of why, what, and how questions on topics that have national, regional, and global significance and implications. Today, we have such a topic to talk about: why Ethiopia's land grab hurts the indigenous people. Here in our studio, we have the honor to interview Obang Metho, who is the Executive Director of Solidarity Movement for a New Ethiopia. He has been a voice to the voiceless indigenous people. Obang, this is not your first time, so welcome back again.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Let's begin our discussion by asking the question why the government in Ethiopia has been leasing land aggressively and cheaply.
Thank you. I think that it's, one of the problem which is the government has, why they're leasing the land. We may not know the reasons on behalf of the government, but it's also that we could know it internationally. This land rush started up to 2008. 2008, there were pretty much that the food shortage worldwide, and there was a riot in Egypt and many other places. And I think some of the investors, they saw that, maybe, because now by 2025, we will have 9 billion people in this world, and these people they need food. And so some of those who had money, they realized that, food is something good to invest in. So when they decided that, they were looking where to go. To grow food, you need land, you need waters. And where do you go? And so there are some places where there's untapped land, a most fertile land with plenty of the water, and Ethiopia turned out to be one of those. And so then there are India, China, some of these countries, then they thought that Ethiopia is a place to go. And so they went there to Ethiopia looking for land. But in Ethiopian government, for that matter, they need hard currency. So they need money so desperately. So for them was that, well, there's someone who wants the land, let's sell the land. So they're selling the land almost for nothing, even just this week. The Ethiopian Minister of Agriculture, they wrote a report, the interview was done. According to the interview, the government said that, we sold the land to Karaturi, for 20 birr, almost, $1. So this is something that the government never had said before.
$1 per hectare?
Yes, $1 per hectare, where in some places like France, it's almost for 1 hectare in a way, it's close to $4,000. So in other words, you can buy it, you can buy a land for $4,000 per hectare. In some country in Ethiopia, it's just $1, almost 99 cents. So this idea is not only not fair, it's beyond not fair.
But even the capital, I heard that Karaturi, for example, they are bankrupt now. And of course, one of the justifications for the government to open up this land grab was, as you said, to earn some capital. But these organizations, they haven't come with their own capital. They borrowed from Ethiopia's national bank.
Exactly. So Karaturi is a good example. Karaturi now, it shows that how unstable it is. So Karaturi was rushing, and even if you remember that, they had the Karaturi CEO, the Indian man, he was saying that, the Ethiopia is a green gold. That he was saying that I will be coming, the Cargill of Africa, and though we will be able to ship the food. So this man was speaking with so much ambition. But for him, he did not come with the real capital. He needed money. So Ethiopian, by the way, when the government leased the land to them, 300,000, they gave them 100,000 and say, we'll give you another 200,000 acre of land, almost for 99 cents. And they say they cannot pay them a tax, for the next 5 years in a way. So it's almost they're giving them for nothing. But these Indian, because they didn't have the money themselves to do the work, the relationship deteriorated. And now you see that the government is accusing Karaturi is accusing the government in a way that they are not really getting along. But as you said, they are using the Ethiopian money. Like this is not only Karaturi, Alamudi. Alamuddin is only the holy billionaire in Ethiopia. But he did not come wealthy because of the money that he earned. It is an Ethiopian money, that Ethiopian taxpayer, the poor Ethiopian people, money that make him to be a billionaire.
The surprise thing for me is that I heard that their justifications why they are allowing land grab is capital. We already discussed about it. They also say that we need full food self-sufficiency. But as you know, these guys, they produce the food, but they don't give to the Ethiopians. They export it. So the reason that they are allowing people to have, this external investment in Ethiopia for food self-sufficiency is really it doesn't hold water.
Absolutely it doesn't. And if you look at it, there was a big video, short documentary done by the Guardian, John Bidal, and we went there and he even asked the Ethiopian Minister of Agriculture. And what he said was just really, in a way, the backward thinking. That he said that, we want to come, we want the ambassador to come and grow food, displace the Ethiopian from the land, and then the Ethiopian who are working in there will earn money and buy the food. As you said, all of these food are not to feed the Ethiopian people. It is actually to export it. And not only they did not come to a land where there's no one live there. People has been living in this land for generations. So to me, this is usually what I say, that this is actually, it is a daylight robbery. It's not a land grab. It's life grab. People depend on lives, like on land. For instance, when I grown up, I was not raised with the money that from the office. I was raised from the land. Our supermarket is going to the field to pick up, guman, to pick up, anything. So they feel that the land behind ours was our bank. That was where we go and, find the food. There where we go find, the thing for sustainable. So when you take away the land from the peoples, you are taking away actually their livelihood. You are taking away their future. So that's why I call it not only a land grab, it is life grab. It's grabbing the people of the future of the people. And so all this not only doesn't apply to the indigenous, by the way, it's also happening in Addis Ababa. So, yesterday I was interviewed by one of the guy from New York Times, and he was saying that, what do you think of this? And so the simple thing I say was, look, the land grab is not taking place only in the rural area, not only in Gambela, even in Addis. There's urban land grab going on. That's what happened in Addis Ababa Master Plan, where the Oromo young people protested, because of that. Not only that, it went on beyond. If you look at it, in Ethiopia, St. Joseph cemetery were clear. People were told that you have to come and take your family body, otherwise they will clear it. So they took away the land. So I was telling the guy that in Ethiopia, this land rush and land grab is not the Ethiopian who are living that being hurt. Even the dead Ethiopian, they are not, they're robbed. They're not even allowed to rest in peace. The dead, the Ethiopian who died a long time ago, like for example, musician, Buzunes and many peoples, Ababe Bekela was the only one that the body was remaining there. Most of those people who were there, their body was taken away. And that land was being sold, for the other people. And not only that, if you look in Addis Ababa today, the government is really, the land has become a way to get rich quick money. In that case, what the government do now, when we grown up in Addis, in a rural area, there is a place where even kids play with the soccer made of socks. So now in Addis, you don't see any space. Any space that being seen open is someone want to get that and sell it. So you see this land thing is not only a rural area, it's a way of getting quick by, robbing, pretty much, robbing the people, from anyone who have what make it also worse is people who are taking this land are, number one, they are foreigners, and also they're the domestic, those who are belong to the ethnic group that really dominated the government, like the TPLF. This was something was done by the Auckland Institute, where they said 78% of the land domestic investor was, from the Tigray region, from the Tigray ethnic group. So if you look into that, if you are part of the APRDF, if you are, someone connected to the government, so you can go and see a land that which is seem to be more usable, you go and take it away, and then they sell it. So this is really a live grab and a future grab, not only of the rural people, but a live grab of the Ethiopian people.
Yeah, I see that. I like the term you used. It's live grab than land grab. So it's very, very powerful, because the people have been robbed their land.
Their future too.
They have been, and also their future too. So it's a very serious thing. But I want to ask you, you already mentioned about how this thing is unfair. So let's talk about why the current land grab is inequitable, unfair, unproductive, and unsustainable.
That's a very good. Number one, why when you see it is related, this land grab, is related to lack of freedoms. There's no freedom. It's related to lack of, almost injustice. Because in a way that, it is not fair. Like it's not like someone like you and me can go to the bank to get the land. Let's say I describe the justice part of it. There are people in Ethiopia now who has nothing, who had no money before, because they are related to the government, they are belong to the ethnic group, or they belong to the people with the power. They can go to somewhere in Gambela and go to Gambela and say that I want to get this land. So they get a certificate. They bring that certificate to Addis, and they say that the land they can use as a collateral. We hire up this land, so the bank will give them the loan. While the local people who live in Gambela don't have the same, privilege. So in that case, you can see the lack of justice. You know what I mean? Again, lack of freedom. In a way that the one who are living in that land, if they want to demand, say, this is my land, and I want to speak, then that person can locked up being put in jail. You know what I mean? So that, again, it go to that. And again, also, if you look at it, it is unstable because it's actually is not going to improve the food security. It's going to actually increase the food insecurity because it's growing of food. For example, in Ethiopia, if you look at it in Addis Ababa before, when you go to Debrecen, there used to be a farm there where people grow what they call nechtep, the white ape. That area was being bought, and now they're selling flour, rose flour, to be sent to Holland and Europe and other people to their loved one. But no one ate that. So in other words, people who are living using the tape have now become a victim of that. So you can see that it's unstable because it's really making people more poor than making people rich. Second thing is depriving the people future, as I was saying. That now you've seen lots of people who are being evicted from their land, moving to a rural area. They don't have any skill. They never went to school. They don't have any job. They don't have any business. So most of them, what happened? They become almost homeless, where their life is becoming very difficult because of this. So if you look at it, it is multi-dimension when we speak about the land grab. It's multi-dimension in a way that if you look at it, because when I say there's no, even politically, for example, in Europe, if you want to cut down a tree, City Hall will debate about that tree. If you want to make a road, someone will, that. Even leave that, even electricity pole that go through the field, they pay because that electricity is in the land of that farmer. That doesn't happen. Lack of political space in Ethiopia, where, for example, in Ethiopia, there's one opposition in the parliament. That opposition cannot even debate about that. The second, which is harming the environment. The environment now, as you see, this company, when they want to invest in Ethiopia and have this mega farm, there will be chemical. That chemical will harm the people. Let's take, for example, the flower plantation going on now in Ethiopia. There was a report which was done that it was hurting so many young Ethiopians who work there, a mother and father. If you look, their skin was not that good enough anymore because of the chemical, what they're having. So there's no regulation for them. So you see that it's actually, there's only one group who are benefiting from this, or two groups. The investor who come from a foreigner, which is they don't really care about the people.
Own the land.
They don't own the land.
They don't care about the future of the land, the water, the environment.
They don't even care about those people. They don't even, they value those people. Those are like just a machine to them. And then the one who are benefiting the government. So what I see usually, I say that this is actually, is a daylight robbery. What it is these investors, they come in, they sign agreement with the ruler in a capital city without involving the people. There's no transparency, there's no accountability, there's no consultation. And so pretty much I use this.
It's short-sighted.
Not only that, pretty much that is causing a chaos. It become, usually I say that this is comparing like a Berlin conference.
Do you think can it survive?
No, it's not going to survive. The thing is, the solution to this, when I look at it, is actually not only the investors. The solution is having a government, a legitimate government that cares for the well-being of the people. Unless you do that, you will not be in the, it's double standard. If you look at it, what's going on in Ethiopia now? What EPRDF is doing to the people of Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, in Omobale, in Gambela, in Benishangul, in Apar, in Oromia, in Ugadin, whatever they are doing now, it is actually, will never be imagined having an Ethiopian man by the name of Assegid coming to Canada or coming to here, and you go to South Dakota, you want to take 300,000 acre of land and consulting the people of South Dakota and trying to invest in that land. Can you imagine what the American will do? So it is almost impossible to do it. So we are doing it. So who is doing the abuse? It is the government that who claim to be for the well-being of Ethiopia.
So now we can see that this, the reasons that you have discussed make, this land grab unsustainable, unfair, and unethical. My question then is, knowing that this is unethical practice, why governments, multinational institutions support and fund this kind of practice? Because
again, as I say, that these multi cooperation or this international, like let's say World Bank, IMF, all of this is actually sometimes we think that it's been set up there for the well-being of the people. No, it's been set up for their own interests. And so they work with the government of the day. Like, for example, this is some of the thing as someone who's been a human rights activist. And so I know that there's, international law, there's a human right, declaration of human right. Do you really see that, it has been equally implemented? No. So these corporate company or these international organizations, they have their interests. They go there for what they want, not for the people, not for the benefit of the people. So the idea here is the government. So that's what I mean, that unless, usually I put it by example, if you don't respect yourself, don't think of somebody else respecting you. If you don't love yourself, don't respect that, For example, looking at it, in 1950, the Africans used to feed themselves more than they are today when there's technology. Why? Because of the problem is lack of having a regime that care for their people, having a government that, this is not only in Ethiopia, it's happening in most of the African countries. And so this is, I said, it is just equivalent to that of Berlin Conference. The European in 1884, they met in Germany and made the decision to divide Africa. They just cut it like a tobacco, you cut it this way, this part. And as a result, because the African was not on the table, now the African are paying the price of that. The African are dying now because of all of those things. And then, not only that, you're seeing now that when the problem is happening in those countries, those people are staying out. Look at it. Most of the African who are just fighting over resource, sometimes these resources are multi-corporation company who come from the outside.
But the world is changing right now because there are many people, in the 21st century pressurizing companies and organizations to practice ethics. A good example is H&M. This is, a
Swedish company.
Multinational corporation, fashion company. They decided that they want use, for example, cotton from Omo Valley because they found out that this is connected to, villagization, and they learned that this is unethical, and that affects their relationship with their customers who value ethics.
Yes.
So the question now is why, for example, the British government, the British Department of International Development, they pumped more than £300 to the World Bank project of health, education, and public service, which is now found out that it has link with the villagization. So why, multinational organizations like the World Bank, governments like the British government don't respect ethics?
Because sometimes when you look at it is that, you mentioned a very good example. There was, there was this meeting in Canada a few months ago where I went to that, and this man was really pretty much that there's a Canadian company working in Eritrea, and so we had a conference and we went to that, and so the vice president of that company was saying that the ethic that apply in Canada should not apply in Africa to Eritrea.
Why?
So when you look at it, as I said, it comes back to what I said earlier. If you don't respect yourself, don't think that these people will come and respect. Because this is exactly what we have. That is, the human have that selfish interest. If you don't really care for your own citizen, don't think other people will do it. Even though we have so-called international community. We have so-called the international guideline law. So this law is only applied to those countries who are there. And it's the simple thing is there's a double standard. As someone who's a human rights activist, and I learn so much that there is unbalance, there's so dishonest, this talk of just, like for example, can you believe how many rhetoric they're saying that, we need change to come to Africa, we need freedom, like even Obama and George Bush and all of this. Do we have really seen some of those? No. And the key is the dictators who are suppressing their own peoples are also being pushed by this power group, by this company, because there's no rule of law, there's no transparency, there's no accountability. So what I call is institution. Lack of institution, it allows these people to come in to do a daylight robbery. Like in Ethiopia now, if you look at it, someone who has never had any education value, who doesn't know anything because they are linked to the ruling, to the TPLF, they get to this power and they use that power to abuse the people, not thinking about the futures. And then the poor people have this law where we say, where is the UN? Where is the international community? Look, when almost millions of people killed in Rwanda, the UN was there. What had the UN done? When the problem was happening in Yugoslavia, UN was there. What has the UN done? When Somalia collapsed, UN was there. What has the UN has done? Even in the South Sudan now. So you see that Iraq and all of this. So my simple thing is, if we think that our problem will be solved by the international community, then we're wrong. we are, we are actually doomed to fail. We are doomed, really in a way. So the simple thing, as you say, that the HMN, like H&M, the Swedish company, they have ethic by themselves, and they want to really go and work in Ethiopia. But because of the pressure, the Ethiopian, there was even Ethiopian in DC who went and protest because of the pressure. If you look at it, there's a Blood Diamond. There's a group where people have come up and say that this is wrong. It is unacceptable. If it is not good in here, it should not be there.
So can we have a chance now? Because you and me, we talked yesterday that there is a leaked report from the internal watchdog, from the World Bank. They found out that there is actually a direct link between the World Bank Health, Education and Public Health program to the villagization. Do you think that this kind of leaked reports may initiate some kind of protest by the diaspora and other international human rights organizations to push the World Bank, at least to compensate people who are affected by this villagization, because there is a program that's linked to the villagization? Or do you anticipate that the internal watchdog may propose some kind of corrective measures where the World Bank may not fund anymore on this kind of projects in Ethiopia?
It's a very good point. Yeah, the case you're talking about is something that I'm very aware of from the very beginning. And so what it was that, the World Banks had given what they call PBS money. This fund was given to Ethiopia. And then, really supposed to be for healthcare, for services. So what the government has done was they used some of this money to, to pay, the security force to reinforce the local people in Gambela for villagization. So there were many people who were almost more than 49 villages was reduced to 16 villages. So they displaced these many people in Gambela. So when they did that, so the local people who registered were tortured, some of them were abused, some of them beat up, and some of them were even arrested, And so as a result of that, what happened was those who were become a victim, they left the country. Some of them, the Anuak from Gambela, they went to Kenya as refugees. Some of them are living in Kenya today. Some of them went to South Sudan. After that, the Auckland Institute and Solidarity Movement, we have actually joined together to have the understanding land investment in Africa. And we did a study where we found that, the Ethiopian government has using this land grab in hurting people. And then after that, the Human Rights Watch did their own investigation. According to the Human Rights Watch, they learned that there is, this villagization is harming the local people. There's almost over 8,000 people who are displaced from Gambela. From there, then there's another group who took the initiative. So there Anuak who were the victim of the villagization from Gambela regions, who live in Kenya, who live in South Sudan. These Anuak people then file a claim to the international, to the World Bank. The World Bank, they have the independent body, which is, which does the investigation. So these, the group then took the case. When the Anuak refugee, file, asking. This body then went to Ethiopia. And they did the investigation, and they went to Kenya, and they went to South Sudan. They talked to those Anuak people. When they came back, they found that, there's actually a real case to, So Inspector Panel, that's what they call the Inspector Panels, then they did a pool investigation. Their pool investigation, that's what is leaked out now. The report did not come out. So, just right away somebody leaked it out, just about last week. And what they found was that the World Bank has violated their own role. The rule that, they're supposed to be really monitoring their funds should not be used to abuse people or evict the people. So now your question is, can this be used for people to protest and rallies? Or, yes, Ethiopian can do it. This goes back to what I say earlier. The work of the change to happen in Ethiopia, it has to be done by the Ethiopian people, not the international community or anyone else. These people can be able to tell us this, but it is up to us. We, the people of Ethiopia, to do this. Usually I made this very simple. All of us, you and I, we got into this room because we have that door. For someone to come in here, in this room and join us, we have to open that door or they have to break in from somewhere. So the problem we have back at home, for the investor, for anyone, someone has opened the door. That is the ruling government in Ethiopia. So unless that people change that system in Ethiopia, which is through institution, through having a good government, that nothing will happen. So it come back. What do we do now? We have this evidence. We can use it to make the World Bank accountable. You broke your own rule. Follow your rule. We are not asking them for anything less. Just follow your rule. And as you mentioned, a very good example, compensate these people who have been evicted from their land. Try to change it. Make sure that next time you don't give the money to Ethiopia to use to displace other people or pay the security to kill the other people, or it is actually sometimes this money is a U.S. taxpayer. You live here, you pay money, your taxpayer has been used, to abuse the people. So we could use this and say that, look, this investigation was not done by Ethiopian. It's not a political group. It's a partial, an independent body, which is also the World Bank by themselves. Follow your rule. So again, it is us, the people of Ethiopia, to say that there's a problem. We demand those people. And the bigger thing, the big portion is the government in Ethiopia. Unless that government change and become a government care for the people, until we change that whole scenario, whatever we do is just a portion of the solution, but it's not the main solution to the problem.
Okay, now we have been talking about the side effects of this implementation. For the sake of fairness, are there any remote positive changes because of the land grab?
I wouldn't say that. There is, again, I say it all the way. When I was in India and talked to them, we are not anti-investment.
Foreign direct investment.
Yes, we are actually for the investment, but let it be a good investment, where improve the life of the people, the well-being of the people, advance the future of the country. So not only when you do that, the investment, or when the government, you're not supposed to only care for your own people, your wife and children in this country. You're supposed to care for a nation, for us all. So for that, if it is an investment, that land grab, that take away the land for the name of few to enrich themselves while people are suffering, that's ethically wrong, immorally wrong. It is unacceptable. It's not right. So the investment, if there's a land in Ethiopia that we need to use, for the investor, let it be that land being given in a way that the people are consulted in a transparent manner, and making sure that the Ethiopian people are benefiting. Let me give an example. One of the things which was happening, the Indian company who are working in Ethiopia, at one point they decided they want to bring 10,000 Punjabi from Punjabi to come to work in Ethiopia. Guess what kind of job they are going to do? To drive the tractors, to work in the field. How many Ethiopians there who doesn't have a job in Addis Ababa or in other place or in Gambela or this? For that matter, instead of bringing some 10,000 from Punjabi, why not hire the local people? That's what I mean by that. If it is for the well-being of the people, let it be. We are not against the investment, but we are against anti-daylight robbery.
So there is no any positive change because there is no job opportunity, there is no food self-sufficiency, the land is deteriorating because this is not their land, or there is no partnership with the local people. So the people who invested on that land, they don't really care about the land. So we could be able to say that side effects outweigh the benefits, so there is no benefit. So let's talk about some of the adverse effects. We have already mentioned about people being moved from their land and so on. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about what are the adverse effects of the land grab.